Hello, welcome back to another fantasy football video. It's been a little while, but I'm absolutely loving the Euros so far. And today we're going to be covering a limitless wildcard from match day 2. Now, I've already hit the chip because I'm just too excited and too buzzing to just get drafted, get going with this limitless wildcard. We've already seen the majority of teams play now, so we have kind of a good feel for how teams are playing and how they're lining up in these games. Obviously, plenty more rotation to come that could be quite annoying, but you know, we roll with it and just enjoying the Euros. If you are new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to try to cover as much of the Euros fantasy as I possibly can from this point onwards. Hit the like button if you do enjoy the video, and let's get straight on into this limitless wildcard draft. So as you can see here, this is the team that I went in to match day 1 with, all the players that are kind of hashed out at the minute. I'm going to be starting with the 3 main men up front, currently on Harry Kane, Lukaku and Yilmaz. Now with Harry Kane playing against Scotland in match day 2, for me it's 100% a hold for Harry Kane, even with the limitless wildcard, obviously coming in at 11.5 mil. You know, well, it doesn't really matter when you're playing the limitless wildcard, does it? So yeah, I think Kane for me against Scotland, who look pretty poor defensively at the minute, is just 100% going in there. Lukaku and Yilmaz. Now Yilmaz for me is kind of, yeah, he's out there for this second game week, although he could do all right, not having too bad of a fixture. And I think Lukaku for me is the main one I'm debating about keeping as well. They do play against Denmark. Obviously, all the best wishes go out to Christian Eriksen. And yeah, Lukaku could be very, very good. He just looks like an absolute machine in that first game, getting that brace and just 2 classy finishes. I'm tempted by him, but a main man I know is definitely going to go in there. Absolutely no doubt. Unless something happens tomorrow in the France game, I think Mbappe for me just kind of has to go in there. I'm waiting on some news for Antoine Griezmann, whether he's going to play. I've heard some stories about him potentially being injured. So if he does play tomorrow, I think he looks like a potentially good option as well. Obviously, he's their penalty taker, so could potentially go for Antoine Griezmann and Mbappe up front for match day 2 against Hungary. I think, yeah, France are going to have an absolute field day potentially in that game, although Hungary probably will be playing quite deep defensively, so you never know, it could actually be harder for them to score than against the likes of Germany or Portugal, which will probably be a bit more open games, but either way you expect France to do quite well. Then we've got Wijnaldum, James, Jota, Berardi and Torres to get rid of. Now the thing is, there's a couple of these boys that I am tempted by to keep. Mainly I'll unhash them, and that is Gini Wijnaldum and Ferran Torres. Ferran Torres obviously playing later on today. I'm filming this just before the Spain game, to wait and see how he does play there. But Gini Wijnaldum, the way he was getting forward in that game against Ukraine yesterday, I mean, what a game that was as well. That was a hell of a spectacle. I do potentially like the look of Ukraine as well, but we'll come on to that in a minute. But yeah, Gini Wijnaldum, he was getting very far forward, and Ferran Torres, obviously we'll wait and see. So I'll unhash Ferran Torres for now, but Wijnaldum is definitely a player I am tempted to keep. Then in terms of the rest of the midfield, I mean, to be honest, we don't actually have that many kind of, premium midfield assets that are really, really good to go for. The ones, De Bruyne's going to get himself injured. And then I'll have a look at the prices here. But I mean, you've got Bruno Fernandes, Eden Hazard coming in at 10 million. You've got Sterling as well. I think there is potential for Sterling as well. As I said, Scotland not looking particularly too great. I do also like England's defence for that game as well. I think I'm going to lob Bruno Fernandes in there, just as I say. He's a premium option. We'll wait and see how they play tomorrow. But actually, it will be a very interesting point. If he does get on the penalties, it makes him a much better option. But yeah, playing against, I think it's Germany, you'd probably expect Portugal to be the minor favourites in that game. And Bruno Fernandes generally looks like a pretty decent option, I'd say. Then scrolling through the rest of the guys, Yarmolenko definitely one that does tempt me. I'll tell you what I do like the look of is actually a little bit more of a punty option, I think. Although they didn't look, incredible in that first game, I do think that Golovin for Russia could actually be, a bit of a punt, a bit of a differential, something a bit more out there in the midfield, and actually a man 100% going in the team. There's not even, I'm not even going to waste time with this one. Insigne, for me, just he looked class in the opening fixture against Turkey. I think generally Italy did look very, very class, and that just reminds me to put in the rest of the Italian kind of players I'm going to be putting in there. Spinazzola, 100%, probably going to be captaining him for the first day. The way he got forward, could have easily scored, managed to pick himself up an assist. They got a clean sheet. Very much expecting them to get a clean sheet as well in the second match day. So I think Spinazzola, Insigne, and for me, you've got to have Donnarumma in there. To be honest, I think that it doesn't really matter what keeper you have after Donnarumma on that first day, because I believe they will very, very likely to keep a clean sheet. And obviously here you see them filled out the majority of the midfield so far. And you know what? It's hard with the midfield because, as I say, there aren't too many options that really, really stand out. But I do think I'm going to go for an Englishman. At the minute, I'm going to go for the one that is kind of guaranteed to start, and that is Mason Mount. Although I am very tempted by the likes of Sterling and by the likes of Foden. So if you think those two are going to start over Mount, then I think kind of Sterling and Foden probably are the ones to go for. Obviously, just the kind of security of Mount starting is kind of the reason that he gets the place over those two for me. But obviously, as I say, you know, with Sterling having scored and Foden having put up a good performance, I can definitely see those two playing. In terms of the rest of the defence, now, obviously, as we're on a limitless wildcard, we're looking for the attacking defenders. It's kind of why I wanted to leave an England spot free, because if you're really looking to punt, I do think that Luke Shaw is going to be the one he plays against Scotland. Absolutely bombing down that left-hand side. And I know I've just talked about that kind of surety to play, and we haven't even seen Luke Shaw play, but this is, for me, just a bit more of a punt. And I think Luke Shaw's going to have an absolutely cracking game against Scotland, obviously, if he does start. But that's kind of, obviously one that is up for debate. I do think that, for me, another French player has to be in there. Lucas Hernandez, potentially, although there is a rotational risk there with Luca Dean, against a poor Hungary side. Maybe he favours Luca Dean and gives Lucas Hernandez a rest. So for me, Benjamin Pavard, just, straight on in there. No doubt in my mind that he's going to be in there. I think, actually, I'll discuss the template team that I will kind of be building around every single time that you're doing these drafts, but Pavard would definitely be in that template team. Now, in terms of the rest of the defence, we're looking at teams who really have kind of, them really good fixtures, the teams that could absolutely pop off. I do like the potential of Croatia, although the Czech Republic in the game they're playing against Scotland do look quite good going forward. That could be a cagey game, and kind of hard to tell who's actually going to win that one. So may or may not go for that. But as I say, I do quite like the look of Russia against Finland. Finland obviously had a pretty decent performance against Denmark, but that game was, as I say, with the Eriksen thing, it's very hard to really call that game as if it had have gone on kind of as normal. It could have been a potentially different result. So for me, that potentially a little bit of an anomaly, that game for Finland. Obviously, no disrespect to Finland, because they deserve the win, obviously. But Fernandes looks like a very good attacking kind of fullback for them. Also, this man, I can't believe it's taken me this long to actually bring him up. But the only defender I think who scored so far, maybe wrong in saying that, but Denzel Dumfries for the Dutch, or for the Netherlands, either way, was absolutely bombing down that right-hand side. They were trying to pick him out so many times, missed two sitters, managed to pick up a goal in the last kind of dying minutes of the game. So I think Denzel Dumfries, for me, is 100% going in there for me. And in terms of goalkeeper, the last spot for the goalkeeper, it's an interesting one, kind of who you really want to go for. After, the likes of Donnarumma, as I say, I don't really think you're going to need a goalkeeper, but I do actually think it's because I'm scrolling through the goalkeepers now, just trying to think. There's no one that really, really stands out to me as like, you're 100% going to keep a clean sheet. I'm looking at the likes of, say, David De Gea playing against Poland, Lewandowski, not a bad player. Obviously, Manuel Neuer, Germany versus Portugal. Courtois, I think Denmark against Belgium. I do see them keeping a clean sheet, to be honest with you. Obviously, now they've lost their main kind of creative asset in Christian Eriksen. They're going to struggle a bit more going forward. And as I say, this is kind of a first little look at a limitless wildcard draft. Now, as I say, there's quite a few positions here that are up for debate. I'd say the template for me around the players who should most definitely be building this team around every single time. Donnarumma at the back, first goalkeeper, almost first name on the sheet for me. I'd say Denzel Dumfries, just how attacking he looks. Pavard, definitely in there, and Spinazzola. So Donnarumma in net, 100% in there for me. Spinazzola, Pavard, Dumfries, then Shaw, Fernandez, that definitely up for debate. The likes of, Munier, even Zinchenko, or just one of the kind of cheaper options. Those guys definitely worth a shout as well. Then in terms of the midfield, Insigne for me, 100% in there. To be honest, he's the only one guaranteed in there for me at the moment. Wijnaldum probably closest second, or even Bruno Fernandes. Golovin for me is just a bit of a punt. Mount, obviously, if you want the England asset, which I think looks good, Mount is the guaranteed player. But whether you go for the likes of Sterling, the likes of Foden going forward could look very good as well. Kane, for me, definitely going in there along with Mbappe. And that third striker spot could be anyone from Immobile to Griezmann to Lukaku to just any number of the cheaper kind of attacking assets, because we've seen some of them put out some absolutely cracking games so far. And yeah, this has been kind of a quick little look at a limitless draft ahead of match day 2. Obviously, it's just kind of, it's my opinion on how the games will go. As I say, there's a lot of there's a lot of changes that could be made to that. And it's just fun making these limitless wildcard, because obviously you're not restricted at all. I think this personally for me is the best week to use it, because come match day 3, you'll have a lot of rotation. So say like if Lukaku ends up getting rotated, if Mbappe ends up getting rotated, you're not really going to get the true value. And then the longer you go down the line of the tournament, you've got a smaller pool of players to pick from, and your budget generally will increase throughout the rest of the tournament. So you have a smaller pool of players with a higher budget. So I think the Limitless, if you want the most effectiveness, definitely this kind of game week is the one to use it on. But if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button for the Euros content. Because as I say, I've unfortunately not been able to be pumping out the content before the Euros, but I am here now, and yeah, I'm going to be going as hard as I can. Possibly go for the rest of the Euros, maybe daily, we'll see. But yeah, if you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new around here, trying to push for that 1K, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.